Fresh coffee. Welcome back. It is still Thursday night, and I'm still going to do my little homework assignment. But and this plays into what I was going to tell you about in the first video, but I never told you about. Me upgrading my Camtasia. I'm using Camtasia Studio 8.5. Don't get me wrong, I love Camtasia. I've used a whole bunch of things to make videos and tutorials and to do stuff for online stuff and even, mixing audio when I don't want to use Audacity and yada yada. Camtasia is great. I love it. But it really cranks when it's time to render videos. Every time you see one of these videos, if it's 15 minutes long, if it's 20 minutes long, it takes 3 times that to do the video because you've got to spend 20 minutes, me sitting here blabbing and doing what I do. Then when you're done, you take that raw material and you bring it into Camtasia, and then I have to edit it. I have to chop out the silly bits in the beginning when I do the title screen. I have to chop out some other things. I have to do the zoom ins. I have to do the zoom outs. If there's a crazy error or something kooky, I do a call out and I write things on the screen and blah, blah, blah. And that takes time. And to do things properly, you've really got to watch pretty much the whole video over again. So if it's 20 minutes long, that's 20 minutes of editing or producing. Then you actually have to click render. It's not a render button. It's something else. Produce and share, I think, in Camtasia. Anyway, then you've got to sit, and Camtasia cranks it out. It's, I've got an i7 chip. I've got tons of RAM. It doesn't matter. It takes a while to crank those things out. So it usually takes, for me at least, on my system, conveniently, it takes about the same amount of time it took to tape the thing. So if I'm making a 20-minute video, that's an hour. So remember, I started shooting at 10:22 for the first video. I'm only getting back to do this one it's 11:30 now. So maybe I should have stuck with it and done one video. Who cares? Who cares? Anyway, the whole reason I was blabbing before is that I'm looking at Camtasia 9 videos now to see what I'm in for and see effects, but I'm scared to do it. And the reason I'm scared to do it is you guys, because we're in the middle of this class. I do not want to spend 5 days over the 4th of July weekend trying to get my computer fixed because I messed up my Camtasia. So we've got a certain amount of videos left for Unit 4, Unit 5, Unit 6. I'm thinking I may do all those videos first and then upgrade my Camtasia, because then if something goes haywire, I really won't need it. I always need it because I like doing, recording stuff and putting tutorials out there. But I really won't need it until September. So if I do it late July, when I've got all of the videos for this class in the can, I'll have an entire month to tinker if I somehow mess my system up. Because I'm thinking forward and making all these plans, nothing will mess up. It'll be fine, and it'll be the greatest thing I've ever used. And I'll hit myself in the head, and I'll say, oh, why weren't you doing it all along? But I don't want to take the chance, because I want to make sure I can get you these videos. And summer is so, my God, summer just goes so fast that I don't want to mess myself up, and I want to make sure I'm okay for you guys. But again, I'm telling you stories you don't need to hear. You need Python. All right. When I get to this part of the unit review videos, this is the very end. This is the last part. Your homework isn't just, and you're going to see tomorrow night when you get it, your homework isn't just your simple do this one program and do this another program. It's a little more involved this time. And I don't want to just throw you in the deep end of the pool and see if you can swim. I want to give you a little bit of a guide so you can see how one might approach something similar to what I'm going to have you do. So I whip up a little homework assignment for myself, and this is the assignment. I am going to take a file of 1,000 random numbers, and I am going to use Python to examine these numbers to see how many of them are palindromes. Now, if you don't know, palindromes are things that read the same way forward as they do backward. So as far as words are concerned, think race car. Okay? Think radar. Think things like that. Now, numbers that are palindromes are things like 11211 or 222 or anything that reads the same forward as it does backward. Okay? And we're going to see it's a little trick. It's very easy to do in Python, which is why I do it, and because I want to show you a neat little trick along the way. So the first thing we're going to have to do in order to do this little homework assignment is I'm going to need some random numbers. Now, I think I did something to test, so I might be writing over something. But when I need random numbers, and if you ever become an instructor for computer science and you ever need some numbers, I'm going to bring you to what's going to become your best friend. Let's see, I can go to a random number generator, and I don't really need it. I want to go to random.org. Random.org will be your friend. You can do tons of things, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to numbers. I'm going to go to integers, and I'm going to tell random.org that I want 1,000 integers, and I want them between 1 and 10,000. And please be so kind as to format them in 10 columns. Then I click Get Numbers, and it gets me to numbers. So then what am I going to do? I'm going to take these numbers. I'm going to highlight them. Do I see any palindromes? There's one right there, 919. Expect to see it later. I'm going to copy this. And then what am I going to do? I'm going to go to Notepad. Uh-oh, Daddy already did this in Notepad. I'm going to go to Notepad, and I'm going to paste. Boom. Look at that. Then I'm going to hit File. I'm going to hit Save As. I'm going to make sure I'm in my Unit 3, and I'm going to call it rnums. It's already up there. So it's going to tell me compound salt. It already exists, but I'm going to replace it. I'm going to say yes. So now I have a file called rnums, and rnums has 10 columns of random numbers. And we're going to go figure out what the deal is. Got a couple of minutes, go to random.org, tool around. If you're a math head, it's a dream come true. Enough said. Now, let's go to some Python things I already whipped up. I created two little shells here. One is called mainprog.py, and the other is called tools.py. Tools is going to be my library. Let's start there. Now, I want to read in these numbers and determine whether they are palindromes or not. So I probably could do that with a function. And I'll have this function return true if something's a palindrome and false if it's not. So let's say def. Let's call it isPal. I am not going into a crazy thing on Hungarian notation, but isPal is nice because if you use it in your code and you read isPal, short for palindrome, it makes sense. It's like, is this a palindrome? Is this a palindrome? And it'll come back true or false. I'm going to call the variable ppal for potential palindrome. And then I'm going to start. Now watch. This is a neat little trick. I'll say if ppal, which is the string, 4 words, is equivalency, 2 in a row, to ppal, then what am I going to do? I'm going to slice. So, okay. What is that? Think about it. Colon, colon, -1. Start at the beginning, go to the end, but go backwards. So what I'm testing there is I'm seeing if the string forward is equivalent to the string backward. What is that? It's a definition of a palindrome is what that is. So I hit colon. If it's true, I return true. Make sure it's capital. If it's not, and we have a binary condition here, so it's okay to go right to the else, I return false. Guess what? I'm done. I am done. But what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to test. Let's say print isPal, give it a string 112211. Is that a palindrome? It sure is. Let's see what we get. True. All right. But it could be broken and come back true. So let's do some other tests. Let's put a 3 in the middle. Is that still a palindrome? It is. True. Very nice. We'll put an X in front. There's no X at the end, so this should be false. Yay, it's false. All right. We're not going to need this, but let's make sure it works with alphanumeric characters. Radar. True. I like it. Race car. Another popular palindrome. That's also true. Let's make something hinky. All right, we're passing all our tests. I'm guessing we're good here, all right? But here's the rub. Get rid of all that code that uses it. Now when we run it, we get nothing, and that's what we want. You know why? this as a library. Just for testing purposes later, we're going to put in a variable. I'm going to say Carter equals 8. If you're a Met fan, you know what I'm talking about. And that's just something I'm going to show you later on, all right? So for now, I'm going to save it. Tools.py, I'm leaving it alone. We're going to use it later. Get out of here, kid. You bother me. Now, main prog. Here in the main program, we're going to do what we need to do. So the first thing I'm going to say is I'm going to say read in file data. What do I do when I read in file data? Let's see. I think the first thing I want to do is I'm going to get a variable called f. I know, not very descriptive. Forgive me. And I'm going to say open rnums.txt. We're going to open that bad boy for reading. And that's it. Then I'm going to grab a string called data, and I'm going to say f.read. Then I am a good file citizen. I'm going to close my file. Then I'm going to print data just that quickly. I have read in my file. Ooh, that doesn't look very neat. There, that's a little better. All right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 columns of data. All right. So boom, right off the bat, file IO done. Done already. We read in our data. Now our data is in a string. Okay. So now strings. Those are old. That's our old friend from Unit 2. We know how to deal with strings. We know how to deal with it. It's pretty easy. Now, let's remember this. Okay. We're not regular people going to the deli, buying scratch-offs, sitting in front of the TV, watching soap operas, eating bonbons. Those people look at this screen and they see 10 columns of numbers. But we're not like that. We're data scientists, and we know Python. So what do we see? We see number, tab, number, tab, number, tab, until we get all the way to the end, where we see new line. We see a backslash n there. Okay, we see a backslash t there, a backslash t there. Okay, so now my next task is going to be to clean this data up so I can get all of these numbers into a list so that I can iterate through that list and test if my numbers are palindromes. So I've got all these tabs and then a new line, all these tabs and then a new line. All right, I'm going to leave this print data here. But what I want to really do is get to a point where the only thing separating my numbers is one thing, because then I can do a split on that one thing, just like we did with the comma when we did it with the names in our last video. I needed the limiter. I need something in between those numbers that's always the same. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to data, and I'm going to say data.replace. And what am I going to do? There's that pregnant pause again. Well, you solve the problem yourself. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take the new lines. You guessing? You guessing? And I am going to replace them with tabs. Okay? What's that going to do? Well, first I'm going to show you what it's going to do. And I'll leave the old print data there so we can compare the two. All right? I run it. All right? And now look. There's no more new lines. It would stretch all the way across the screen. Okay? The only thing pushing the numbers down is the way this idle wants to print it out. But notice if I come back up and I look at the first run, see, that's still 10 columns, because all of these still have new lines. But I got rid of the new lines now, and I replaced them with tabs. So now the second time I print it out, I have no new lines. It's all tabs, and I would go right all the way across if I had to. But now I'm in Fat City, because the only thing in between those numbers is a tab. And what does that mean? You know what it means. It means I have a way to use my split now. So I can use split, and I can split by the tabs. Now split returns a list. It'll be a list of all of my data. When I print data now, I should get a list if the programming gods are with me. And they are. Look at that. I can see it's a little bit better with the format. And well, it's still kind of hinky. Boom, right there. Starts with a bracket. Goes all the way down to the bottom. Now, you know what? I'm a smart guy. Let me do a len on my data. and I see that I have 1,000. It prints 1,000 at the end. Okay, that's the first print. I guess we don't need that guy anymore, so I'm going to get rid of him. And then when I rerun, I just see 1,000. So I've still got 1,000. That's pretty good. Okay, so now what do I want to do? Okay, the first thing I'm going to do is I said read in my file data. And let's just zots that. And then this is going to be clean my data. All right, hopefully I'm doing okay on time. That's okay, though. I want you to see all this. All right, so now I have a list. Now I'm in Fat City because I'm going to go and use that function that I wrote and check to see whether things are palindromes or not. But wait, 1 minute. How am I going to use that code that's sitting in another file? It's sitting over here. When I do that, they're supposed to see it. There you go. It's sitting over here. But I want to use it. How am I going to use it? I'm going to use it just like we use math and statistics. Watch this. I'm going to say import tools. That's it. Done. As long as that resides in the same directory as the original code, this main prog, you're fine. So I can import tools now. So now, what am I going to do? I'm going to iterate over number list to find the pals. So let's do it. For I in data, I don't need to mess with range. I got a list. I iterate over that list. If tools, tell it the library, is pal, I equals true, print I. I don't even need an else. I just won't do anything else. So I'm going to iterate through that list. If it's true, I'm going to print it out. You know we're not going to leave it at that. We're going to go do other neat stuff. Hold on. Let's check it out, though. Okay, let's see what we got. Oh, that 1,000 will drive you to drink. It'll fool you. All right. Run it again. 717, yes. 7447, yes. Yes. There's our 919, or was it 949? I don't know, but they're both good. Look at this. Everything I see here is a palindrome. So I'm guessing I'm okay. I still want to go back and look at the original data and make sure something isn't hinky, but I'm guessing I'm in pretty good shape. Okay? But what are we missing? We want to know how many there are. Yes, I could eyeball it and count them. But then I could set up a counter. All right? So I'll do it the old way first. C equals 0. C, ready for this? Plus equals 1 is the same as C equals C plus 1. Remember that. Print I, blah, blah, blah. Then when I jump out, print there were, comma, C, comma, blank, palindromes. Oh, period. Aha. Run it, and it tells me there were 16 palindromes. Okay? There's another way we can do it. Okay, I'm not going to bother with that. Doing an accumulator in this particular video. But I am going to jump out here. I'll leave that print line. And what I'm going to do here is I'll just create a list called the pals. And if it's true, the pals dot append I. That will blow up 100. I'd be looking for that for days. Append I, print I. There were len the pals, palindromes. Will this work? It does. Okay. This is more Pythonic. Stick everything in a list, and then if I want to see how many, just get a len on the list, and it tells me how many items are in the list. Done. Done. Okay. Now, we didn't have to play around with casting because I did everything with strings. Yes, of course, grab that when you really want this. See this right here? This takes a string and deals with strings, okay? And that's what I'm giving it, because when you're dealing with sequential files, you're dealing with strings. You're dealing with character data. So everything was a string. I never had to change to integer because I didn't do any math, so I was always okay. All right? Now, one last thing I'm just going to do, just to show you. is I'm going to say print tools.carter. And when we rerun our program and I look at the bottom, there's an 8 there. This is the key. Look at the main program. You see an 8 anywhere? You see that definition anywhere? You see anything? No. We had it in our library. Libraries aren't just places where you can keep your functions. In about a month, you're going to see that they're also a place you can keep classes, but I don't want to get ahead. You can also keep variables there. Oftentimes, you put what we call constant variables there. So you can come to this one file and change all your parameters, and then all of your other code will be affected because you're reading in variable names from your libraries. Okay? Other people would use it as what we call a config file. So you could use all those variables, and in your config file, you can have the different actual numbers. Anytime in programming where something isn't hard-coded, where it's a variable that's read from somewhere, that's a good thing, because then you can go there, set all your parameters, and then run your program accordingly. So I wanted you to see that because you're going to see in your homework assignment, you're going to have to use a constant variable. This is all I'm talking about, okay? Just define it in the library and use it in the main program, and you're good to go, okay? So, I mean, how long did that take? 15 minutes? 20 minutes tops? Why am I asking when I can look? 20 minutes, okay? And that's it. We created a file of 1,000 random numbers. We read it in. We cleaned it. Then we took it and we ran it through a function that we had in our own custom library to see if it was a palindrome or not. Then we added them all to a list and then did a len on the list to see how many there were. It turns out in this particular case, there were 16 of them. One of these times I'm going to do it and there's going to be none. Hasn't happened yet. 1,000 random numbers getting no palindromes, that would be weird. But I'm sure it can happen. Anything can happen. So we got 16 in that run, which is pretty good. Okay? So that's it. I mean, if you think about it, when you get your homework assignment, and I'll put it up in the middle of the day, so I guess I can talk about it now. You're going to have to write a function to determine if something is a harsh-add number, okay? Harsh-add number is something where all the digits in the number add up. If that number divides evenly into the original number, you have a harsh-add number. Example I always use is 27, okay? Add the two numbers, 9. Does 9 divide evenly to 27? Yes, that's a harsh-add number, okay? Same with 18. For the same reason, they're both 9s, okay? By definition, single-digit numbers are harsh-add numbers because they divide evenly into themselves, all right? That's all a harsh-add number is. So you're going to have to write a function to figure out if something is a harsh-add number or not. You can do it as an integer. You can do it as a string. I don't really care. To be honest, I think the instructions might say do it as an integer, okay? But the whole idea is to write a function that returns either true or false, whether something is a harsh-add or not. Then you're going to read in, if I'm not mistaken, 5,000 random numbers, and you're going to see if they're harsh-adds. And you're going to take those harsh-adds and put them in a separate list and tell me what they add up to. Then you're going to take that list and you're going to run it through a second function. And that function is called siete. And that is a function that checks to see if there is a 7 in the second column, the tens column. I have to explain that because I don't want people getting confused. It's the second column, okay? So, again, by definition, that's not going to work if you have a single digit. Single-digit numbers do not have a tens column. So you're going to have to watch out for single-digit numbers and do some other things. All right? And that's all. That's the homework. Basically, at the end of the day, then you have to do, there's a little extra part where I'm going to have you take the output and write it to an output file. And then that output file is going to be one of your deliverables for the homework. But other than that, I mean, we could code that up in 3-4 minutes. So knock wood, if you've engaged with the resources, if you've taken a look at everything, and you're ready and raring to go, homework shouldn't take you more than 45 minutes, an hour, okay? Especially with all the stuff we've done here and all the things I've shown you here, you should be in good shape, all right? So I'm going to leave it at that. I'm going to get out of here because it's 5 minutes to midnight, and I've still got to edit, and I've still got to render it, and I've still got to upload it and leave you guys an announcement, and then I got to get my butt to bed because I got to get up early tomorrow and give some people a tour of the cave and do some other things, all right? I will definitely at some point tomorrow do the assignments, so you have the assignments. Then over the weekend, it's a long weekend for me because I have a vacation day Monday again. I will do that 4th video where I redo Euler. I'll probably do it quick. It'll probably be 5-10 minutes, just a real quick boom, boom, boom. But then I want you to see a couple different libraries. I want you to see different things done in different ways, so you'll have that too. All right. Uh, Not going to kill you with announcements. Just going to say, make sure to keep up with this stuff. It is going to be July 6th. So fast your head is going to spin. The unit's going to end quicker than you think, so please do this work now. Do a lot of it over this coming weekend. You don't want to be doing this over your 4th of July weekend because you're going to be out doing things. You're going to be going to barbecues and picnics. You're going to be hanging out with your friends. You're going to be going to the beach. You're going to be doing what you should do during the summer, having a little bit of fun. Get the Python out of the way, okay? Go get the forum post, at the very least, out of the way this weekend, okay? And then spend a little time every night with the homework assignment and make sure you understand it and you're happy with it and you get it all coded up and you're all good to go, all right? I don't want it to catch up to you because, second warning, it's going to be July 11th before you know it too, and that's when the midterm is due, all right? Last thing, and I'll mention it again in a couple of days via announcements, think about groups. Think about getting me names for your groups, okay? We've got 15 people, 1 group of 3, 3 groups of 4, all right? So think along those lines. All right, good. We should be fine. You're going to be fine, all right? I want you to enjoy it. I want you to keep doing this stuff and have fun and discover stuff, and it's like a puzzle. It's like solving puzzles, which is always fun at the end of the day, all right? And I'm getting out of here. It's been a good night. I will keep you up to date on the Camtasia thing. If I get brave and decide to upgrade, then maybe the later videos will have some newer features. But I don't know. I don't want to mess things up for you guys. All right? All right. Then I'm getting out of here. You be good, and I will talk to you very soon. Bye.